Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, June 17, 2026 Board of Education meeting. The board has been in executive session to discuss matters made confidential by federal and state privacy laws, FERPA and Ed Law 2D, matters of safety and security, the employment history of particular persons, and to receive advice from counsel subject to board approval. May I have a motion to bring us back to the public business meeting at 7:04 p.m.?
I'll move.
All in favor? Aye. Let's stand for the pledge. Wow, I see a sea of orange. We just need a little blue and we could celebrate the Knicks. I'm so excited everyone is here. Welcome. So we'll go straight in to, we'll present, do you want to, should we present and honor the Seven Bridges Science Olympiad students first?
I think we should.
Yeah.
So I'd like to invite up Dr. Lynn Stewart, who will present our New York State Science Olympiad champions.
So I am so incredibly proud of our Seven Bridges Science Olympiad champions. They have had an amazing season, another amazing year. They began preparation in really late summer, and then the competition season really kicks off about in December at the Brown University Invitational Tournament, and it really went through the entire year, just ending in very, very late May because they've had such a successful season. They were able to get to the national tournament at the University of Southern California. Some highlights from the year included a second place finish at Brown. They also had two other second place finishes in January at the Blue Dragon and SOAP's Penn State Invitational. The team then really started to heat up and were able to place first in our very own first Greeley Invitational, and then another first place finish at the Cornell Invitational. And then when it really counted, the team started to really hit their stride, and the dedicated Science Olympiads didn't disappoint with a first place finish at regionals in Scarsdale, which I got to be at firsthand and see all of their competitions, except for the tests. I don't get to see them with the written tests. And then they went off to compete and place first at states in Syracuse. So they are our state champions. So they're managing all of this because they love diving into just learning more and competing. They have a lot of really important people around them supporting them. Sky Albert Hall is the Science Olympiad team liaison, team coach. And then many of these parents that are around the room are there day in and day out, helping to prepare the students for each of the competitions. So really, it's very much a partnership with the PTA, as you all know. And so really, the parents also become very dedicated in making sure that while they're balancing their schoolwork, they're also doing all of this because they become very passionate. They become very much teammates and develop a real strong camaraderie around this whole participation. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm going to read out each of their names.
And then when you read them out, maybe they can come up here and give them.
Perfect. So I'm going to read your name. You're going to stand up and you're going to come forward so that way that the Board of Education can recognize you. Okay, so Alexander Gu. Aryan Sharma, Olivia Chang.
Alexander, come stand over here.
Just go all the way over to the side.
Alexander.
Vihan Gote,
Come stand over here.
Whit Healy McNutt,
Come stand over here.
Benjamin Martineau,
Face the audience.
Naoki
There
Gasu,
you go. There we go.
Natasha Kenwar, Tejas Arjun, Vincent Hong, Zachary Shi, Nolan Kim, Arnav Bandula, Pranav Wadali and Yishi Zhao. I just had an extra just in case. All right, one more big round of applause. We have Coach Sharma also here and many of our other coaches.
So Dr. Stewart, it would be great if our Seven Bridges Science Olympians and their families and the board could take a large picture out in the rotunda so we could post it on social media. And I just want to, again, congratulate all of our students, their parents. I know this is a collective effort, and it's just a job well done. So,
Okay, come on out here. Come on out here.
we're going to move out to the rotunda. Okay, well, that was really exciting, right? And so the other thing that I thought was important tonight before we move back into the president's report is that we recognize Ryan Sykes. He's won again. He won the 3,200, so he's a New York State Class A champion. He was not able to be at the meeting tonight because he's getting ready for another competition. But I did, since the school year's coming to a close, I did want to take an opportunity to just recognize Ryan has once again been named a state champion. We got one more year with Ryan, so I'm sure we're going to see him again and have more opportunities to celebrate him. So now we're on 1.1.1.
Yes. Great, thank you, Dr. Ackerman. Okay, so we're going to go straight into the president's report. And this will be my last president's report of the year. So I will say, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final Board of Education meeting of 2025-2026 academic school year. As we close this chapter, it is worth pausing to consider what a school year actually represents. It is not just a calendar of days or a checklist of curriculum standards. It is a massive collective effort driven entirely by the momentum of the people in this room and across our district. To the students moving up to their next grade level, congratulations. Think back to September. The routines that now feel like second nature were completely unfamiliar 10 months ago. You adjusted to tougher expectations, navigated new environments, and proved your capability. You earned your way to the next step. To our seniors, you have reached a significant milestone, whether your impact was made in the classroom, on the athletic field, or in theater programs, or through community service, you have left a distinct mark on our schools. You are leaving a structured environment for one you will define entirely for yourselves. It is a major transition, but your work here has proved that you are fully equipped to handle it. None of this progress happens in isolation. To our teachers, counselors, and support staff, thank you. And I've repeated myself over and over again how you are the heartbeat of this district. We see the final achievements of our students, but we know those results are built on your daily, often unseen labor. Your patience, adaptability, and standard of excellence are what sustain our schools through the long winter months and the busiest spring weeks. A successful school district relies on a functional, active partnership with its community. I want to extend a sincere thank you to the PTA. Your consistent attendance at our monthly Board of Ed meetings keeps us grounded. By collaborating with us, planning, and keeping lines of communication open, you ensure that community perspectives directly shape district decisions. Thank you to our outgoing chair, Sudha Kumar, and we welcome our incoming CPTA chair, Stephanie Salatan. And thank you to all the other cabinet members, as well as the building level chairs and vice chairs. I also want to recognize our outbound ex officio student board member, Matthew Wohlstatter. Thank you for your leadership this year, for consistently elevating student voices, and for your diligent management of district-wide initiatives. You set a standard of professionalism that served your peers well. Your willingness to collaborate with all student government leaders alongside the building administration helped move our district in a new direction in how we elevate student voices. To our newly appointed student board member, Gabriella, who is here in the audience, Congratulations and welcome. We look forward to working with you and integrating your perspective into our decisions next year. We're so excited to see what else we can add to continue our efforts in lifting student voices. And to our parents and community members, thank you for your trust, your constructive engagement, and your ongoing investment in our public schools. As we adjourn tonight, let us carry the momentum of this year forward. To our students, enjoy a safe, well-earned summer break, stay curious, and keep setting high expectations for yourselves. Thank you all, and have a wonderful summer. And now, if any of the board members would like to say a little something to our outgoing ex officio student board member, this is the time.
I will take a moment. I wanted to thank Matthew for his outstanding contribution to the board this year. It has been an absolute pleasure to serve alongside him. Matthew, your enthusiasm for the work was evident from the moment we met last year, and it really came through in all that you're able to accomplish this year. You contributed your time and energy to bringing our students across the district together through your work with the student governments, ensuring that all their voices were heard. Your work on the Stop the Bus initiative and your help in spearheading Teacher Appreciation Week were wonderful accomplishments and were true highlights of the year for everyone. Matthew was not afraid to speak up at the board table and share his views, which only enriched all of our discussions. I want to thank you, Matthew, for making the most out of your role this year and for setting the standard high for the role of the student board member. And we're also so excited to welcome our new board member for next year. We look forward to getting to know you and working with you, Gabriella. Welcome.
I'll be quick because she said a lot of the amazing things that Matthew has done. I think we can all agree that it has been amazing having you sit here with all of us this year. There are big shoes to fill, but I have no reservations that Gabrielle will be able to do so. I think for me, one of the greatest things is that I heard from my own kids, specifically the elementary school, how much they loved your presence in the school. So thank you for that. We will miss you.
I'll pass. I think we all know Matt and the work that he's put in here, but what not everybody knows is that Matthew had expressed interest in having this position before it was even mandated by the state, and he gave the opening day remarks 2 years ago. So I think that this all sort of came together at the most blissful time for him and for the district. And he was an easy first choice for us because we just knew that this was something that he had really thought about beforehand and had sort of paved a path in his own head as to what success inside of this role would look like. And then I think he exceeded all of our expectations. So Gabriella, you have big shoes to fill, but there is a blueprint of success here, and I would be hesitant to think that anybody did it better than Matthew did this year. We will miss you, but your dad is my pickleball partner, so I will still see you if he ever stops complaining about his shoulder. But we loved having you this year. We really did, and you were an actual thought partner, and one of the most I think the best moment that you had of all was when you sort of challenged Dr. Ackerman about, no, this is what elevating student voice looks like. And that is a moment, and again, I told you this off the record, but I'll say it on now. At 17 years old, that's not something I ever would have done. So I have a lot of respect for you, and I if I could buy stock in your future, I would.
Matthew, it's been a pleasure working with you. I always appreciated your very compelling narratives about student life throughout all of our schools. I want to recognize your leadership in the area of stewardship through the Stuff the Bus initiative. That is such an essential part of, I think, what our district's values are. And I really want to commend you for really making your mark there and leading with that initiative and setting that tradition that will follow for years. Beyond that, I, like Matt and others, admire your courage and your willingness to advocate for your beliefs regarding the student experience. I think that's what makes this community and this district so special. So thank you. Yeah.
And then, Matthew, I would just like to thank you for adding joy to my work life. I'm really grateful that you engaged in this way so quickly and created this position into something that I think really had an impact on the entire student body. And we have the benefit of being able to see you all next year, so that's also something that is wonderful. But I think for me, I'd like you to know that in assisting you in connecting all of our students together, K through 12, was probably some of the most meaningful work that I was able to participate in this year, and without you, that wouldn't have happened, so thank you. And we have a little gift, should we give it? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is for you,
I hope it's a Rolex.
Okay, I'll pick it up.
Yay.
Thank you, Matthew.
Do you want to say something, Matthew? You don't have to.
I do have something prepared. It's a little long. Do you want me to wait till
No,
after?
go
Okay.
ahead. We have time. This is our meeting.
First, I just want to congratulate Gabriella again on her appointment. I'm really looking forward to working with you in the onboarding process this summer, and I'm just so happy that you were appointed. And I hope that after I say a little something, that you'll see how rewarding this work can be, and maybe it'll motivate you a little bit for next year. So, it has been my pleasure to serve as the first ex officio student member of the CCSD Board of Education for this past year. For those of you who know my history with the board, you know how much of a dream role this has been for me. I had known about the Board of Education and the work they did in collaboration with the district office for a little over 2 years when I first heard about the position. When the position was posted on Student Square for high schoolers to apply for, I had watched basically every Board of Education meeting since the spring of 2023. So the notification popping up in my inbox seemed like something worth pursuing. However, I never knew how rewarding this work and this year would be. You all up here have done such a great job integrating me into this new position. I know it was new for all of you as well to have a student sitting up here listening in on your very important conversations, but I hope that my reports have been informative, my input has been relevant, and that my presence as a member of the student body has been of value. Myself, in collaboration with many other student leaders across the district, have accomplished a lot this year. Stuff the bus, redesigning the Greeley courtyard and submitting a grant to CSF for an outdoor classroom, and making Teacher Appreciation Week student-led, to name a few. These accomplishments not only show that we have some pretty amazing students in this district, but that establishing this position was successful. The law was established in order to bring student voice to board governance, and I think we have achieved that together. This board service has not only been extremely rewarding, but it has opened my eyes to the broader world of educational policy. I've been on a podcast, I've begun doing a little research regarding organizational development and leadership, and I will be presenting at a leadership conference in July. I have truly loved every second being in this role, and I thank you all for selecting me as the first student board member. I also just want to thank some people who have been incredibly supportive of me and my work throughout this past year and even before. And so first, I want to thank the student body across all 6 schools. My goals this year were to make sure that your voices were heard and that your work was showcased to the greater Chappaqua community. I hope that I've achieved that and I've been able to make your school experience even better than it already was. I want to thank my fellow board members. Tim, for your thoughtful and thorough questions that have brought different perspectives and important conversations to the table. Allison, for our quick conversations and laughs before these Wednesday night meetings that I have enjoyed. Matt, for the humor and life you bring to the board and your support and your constant guidance over the past 2 years and always being open to my questions. I really appreciate it. Alyssa, for the calm and content presence you bring to the board and for your informative committee reports. And I also want to give a special thank you to Ms. Huang for your steady leadership and organization this year. And for our Friday afternoon meetings in the Greeley cafeteria that have allowed me to have a consistent communication with you and the rest of the board. I want to thank all of the assistant superintendents, Mr. Colwell-Block, Dr. Hilu-Kare, Mr. Corselia, and Dr. Pease, some of whom I've been lucky to work with on various committees throughout the year, who sit through these long meetings every Wednesday night and provide their expertise in their various administrative areas. I want to thank all of the building principals at the elementary school level, Ms. Alsbach, Ms. Wilson, Ms. Stover, who rounded up the 4th grade students for our Friday afternoon calls and for their support for the projects we have done this year. Additionally, Mr. Curtis, Dr. Stewart, and Dr. Rappaport from the middle school administration have been critical in my student government in my communication with Dylan Bonanno and Genesis Garcia, who are concluding their year as student government representatives from Seven Bridges and Bell, respectively. I want to give them a special thanks as they have both been exemplary student leaders and have given incredibly in-depth reports to me that I have then given to you. I hope they continue to be a part of student government at Greeley in next year. I also want to thank all the student government advisors across all 6 schools, Ms. Posner, Mrs. Fitzgerald, Ms. Green, Ms. Emerson, Ms. Dorio, Ms. DeFranca, Ms. Soprano, Ms. Stein, Mrs. Olmo, and Ms. DePeralta. Without your support this year, our students would not have been able to have the success they have had. I want to thank my teachers who have supported me, specifically some who were always willing to sit down with me and talk about my board service. Ms. Hebert and Ms. Curtis, who have been the target of my afternoon drop-ins and always listened to what I had to say. Dr. Letizia, who has given me his own insight as a board member in a nearby district and is always open for a quick chat. Ms. Finnegan for her encouragement, and Mr. May and Ms. Mazzini Chin for their support and for bringing us a historical perspective to education and my role. Ms. Lewis and Ms. Patel Ma, 2 people who I deeply respect, for watching these meetings every Wednesday night and always supporting the work that I do. Ms. Olmo for allowing any ideas I have to come to fruition, and Ms. Dalton for her kindness and appreciation for the work I've accomplished this year. I also want to acknowledge that this year I've been able to form 2 very special friendships with people who I would have never expected to become close to. First, Lisa Elsner, Clark, whose last scheduled board meeting is also today, and she has been nothing but supportive of my work with the board. And when I was scheduling my first meeting with Dr. Ackerman back in August or July or something last year, it was also my first time coordinating with Lisa. I began my email with, "Hi, Miss Elsner," and I was quickly told to call her Lisa. After one of the meetings in the fall, Lisa sent me an email the next morning acknowledging how impressed she was with my work, and she even attached a newspaper article that was about students from across the country who were also involved in important advocacy work. This displays Lisa's generosity and kindness perfectly. Over time, Lisa and I learned a lot about each other. She has taught me so much about the district, has answered any and all of my questions, and she has shown interest in my life, both in and outside of school. Lisa, thank you for your continuous support and positive presence this year, and I wish you nothing but the best. Second, Dr. Seppi, Greeley Principal. People may think of a principal as someone who hides in their office or is maybe an intimidating presence around school. I can confidently say that Dr. Seppi is the opposite of that. She is everywhere, in classrooms, with students in common spaces, after school, at student events, and at sports games. She does everything and is so open to any and all the ideas that I've brought to her. I met with Dr. Seppi once a month this entire school year. For a while, our meetings were formal and focused, but over time, as our relationship strengthened, we let our personalities show a little bit, and we have become a great team. She has supported me on every committee and with every endeavor. She also said something to me that I think is important to share. I went to her with a concern a few weeks ago. After she had heard what I had to say, she said, "Matthew, I appreciate you. You coming to me with this means that you trust me. I appreciate that." She then stuck out her hand for me to shake in true Dr. Seppi fashion. Not only do I think that is very representative of Dr. Seppi and I's relationship, but I think it is the most important trait that any 2 leaders can share: trust. I am also happy to share that we are creating a Principals Advisory Committee next year to build upon this year's accomplishments. Dr. Seppi, I thank you for your incredible support this year of me and of all the students in our school. Lastly, there are 2 more people who I cannot have done this work without. Ms. Lori Lichtenstein, 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher at Seven Bridges, is the person who introduced me to the Board of Education and the world of school administration. She saw something in me, a clear interest in education beyond the day-to-day of a middle school, and supported my interest with constant discussion and an influx of information. She introduced me to Mr. Corselia, which led to an awesome meeting between the 2 of us, and always listened to my own little board reports where I sent her an email about once per month summarizing the things that happened during each Board of Education meeting. She has been incredibly supportive this year, and I cannot thank her enough for getting me started with this work. And finally, Dr. Ackerman. I first met Dr. Ackerman in August of 2024. When we met, I knew I was in the presence of a strong leader, and yet I barely knew her. She skipped past the introductions and awkward small talk and immediately asked me about myself. Do you have any siblings? How was your first year of high school? What clubs are you a part of? Throughout last year, I saw Dr. Ackerman a few times in the halls and was always greeted with a smile. Being able to work with her this year has been one of the most valuable opportunities of this whole board experience. She can get any amount of people together with a simple email and a date and time, and has been incredibly generous with her time and attention to me in this role. She responds to my emails in a few short hours or even minutes, and has given me so much autonomy in this position. In the spring, when I shared something exciting that happened to me over email, she responded with one simple word, "Yes," in all caps with 3 exclamation points. That was all the encouragement I needed, especially coming from someone who I deeply respected. She leads with thoughtfulness, multiple perspectives, and efficiency. She spearheaded Stuff the Bus, gathered all of our student governments and principals together for a planning session for a separate event, and led a fantastic lesson on leadership, community, and communication. She could have delegated all of these tasks to someone else or made these events boring or simple. But Dr. Ackerman doesn't do things the easy way. She goes all out. She goes above and beyond for each student, even while having the hardest job in a school district. Dr. Ackerman, thank you for going out of your way to support me, recognize me, gather our student governments, and promote community, and make me feel as though I am someone who has something important to contribute to any conversation. Thank you for everything. Thank you all for your support this year, and I hope I can continue to lead this community in different ways in the future, and I hope everyone has a fantastic summer.
Thank you. And so while we are in the celebratory mode and thanking and gratitude mode, should we honor our district clerk? This will be Ms. Elsner's last Board of Education meeting. And we have a little something for her. Ms. Elsner, would you like to say something? There is a microphone right there.
3 minutes.
You get 3 minutes. I was going to say, what time you?
Oh, boy. I'd just like to thank this current board. It's been a pleasure to work with you all and the administrators. I'd like to thank the board that I came in with, who took a chance on me. I'd also like to thank Christine, who took a chance on me. I think we've had an amazing partnership. I have met the most incredible people working in this district, and I thank you all for that opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We're going to miss you, but you're only a phone call away. I know we had a resolution that said she might come back to sub for us.
She's already disconnected her phone.
He's changing your number.
Okay, so can we go straight into 1.1.1? I will move 1.1.1. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby appoints Gabriella Brandt to serve as an ex officio member of the school board for the 2026-27 school year, subject to the requirements of District Policy 2245. May I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Gabriella, it's your moment. Please
up
come
and
up
say
to the mic.
Does Matt have to get up now?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. And I wanted to also say a special thank you to Dr. Ackerman and the rest of the Board of Education for selecting me for this role. It is truly an honor to be able to serve as the student board member for the 2026 to 2027 school year. As someone who has spent the past few years becoming increasingly involved in our schools and community, I care deeply about making sure student voices are heard. I'm excited for the opportunity to learn from all of you and help create meaningful experiences for our K through 12 student body. I also want to recognize Matthew for his service in this position. He has done an incredible job representing students and contributing to the board's work. I've definitely got some big shoes to fill, but I'm very grateful for the example that he set. Thank you again so much for your trust and confidence in me, and I'm looking forward to the year ahead and working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, can you take a picture of Gabriella and Matthew before Gabriella heads out because she has exams? I'd like to for the website.
Okay, so then we will move on to 1.1.2, our student board member report. Matthew?
I can't move it. Here we go.
Thank you, everybody. So for my last report, There's still some exciting things going on, although obviously we are winding down, only a couple days left. At the elementary schools, we had our Seven Bridges and Bell visits with our fourth grade students, where fifth grade, I think it was fifth grade students, come to all the elementary schools and give their insight on the middle school experience and what their fifth grade year has been like, and prepare these fourth graders to move up to Seven Bridges and Bell. There was a book fair and safety patrol awards. I believe Mr. Colwell Block was at Roaring Brook, which was very exciting. There's grade level performances, and student government students served as ushers at Grafflin for those performances, which I thought was cool. And then there's a continuation of the MAT project that I've kind of been mentioning this year, and then there's some preparation for next year at West Orchard and across all the student governments to prepare for the second year in these elementary school student governments, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. In the middle schools, there's a lot of testing going on, a lot of moving up, and a lot of transitions. So we had the algebra regents today and our life science biology regents tomorrow for our 8th grade students. And then we have moving up ceremonies and other 8th grade events that are coming up this week and next week, which is very exciting for them. And then in both student governments, they're ending the year with laying out their goals for next year and electing new representatives for 8th grade and for the rest of the grades. And hopefully it will be a very successful year. At the high school, we've had our junior awards and senior awards ceremonies in the past few weeks. And then we've had a lot of senior events. We still have some more to go, including graduation, but we've had prom. Senior picnic, I believe, is tomorrow. And
Senior picnic, I think, happened.
oh, it happened? Sorry.
I think it was
tomorrow.
Monday?
Yes, tomorrow's graduation rehearsal.
Right, graduation rehearsal and the elementary visit. Sorry.
Yep.
And senior picnic was a couple days ago, and then graduation, of course, coming up. And then they also concluded with their capstone presentations the last week to the faculty and staff. And so that concludes my student board member report.
Oh,
Thank
Matthew.
you.
Good work, Matthew.
Okay, so we are on 1.2, the superintendent's report.
So before we go into the strategic plan update, we thought we'd highlight a few items on the agenda. Before we do that, I just want to recognize Suda for her leadership in the PTA this year. We had our luncheon this afternoon. We were able to thank the PTA for all the support and care and love that they give to our students and to our staff throughout the school year. So I just want to take an acknowledge to thank Suda, and Stephanie's here. So we look forward to working with you next year, Stephanie. So thank you. Okay, so Adam, did you want to talk about the Play Care RFP on the agenda tonight?
Sure. So Play Care, who has been providing pre-K services for the community for many years, as well as daycare services for the community, has submitted an RFP. So we'd like the board to consider that. It is on the agenda. We've outlined a timeline, assuming the board votes in the affirmative to accept Play Care. They've offered 11 seats at their facility. So this would be our first community partnership where we have students with a program that we would oversee. They would run off-site as opposed to on-site. So it would give our families an additional opportunity. We would still obviously have many students on-site in the sections that we have here, but we have worked through with Play Care. Josh and I visited the facility. They provided the appropriate documentation with regard to appropriately certified teachers and certified facilities. We just wanted to give you a timeline so you could see it up here. Tonight, obviously, the Board of Education RFP on the agenda. Assuming that you vote in the affirmative, you can see the timeline from here. So we'd send a letter. We're ready to send a letter tomorrow with the details that the Board of Education voted on this, and some additional details if they're interested in how to enroll. It'll have this timeline on it as part of the letter. We engage, once we have the RFP approval, we engage in a contract process that works through the business office. Assuming that contract's approved, we kind of move forward. We're going to have a webinar with myself and the director of Play Care on June 20th. 1:30 in the afternoon. I know it's during the day, so that can be challenging for parents. So we will record it and post it onto the pre-K website that we have. That webinar will go through the similar things that we did with the webinar for our on-site facility. We'll talk through curriculum, facilities, things like that. And then the interest form for families that are interested will be due on June 25th. So there'll be a link in that letter where families can express their interest by June 25th. If we have more interest than the 11 seats, then we'll conduct another lottery. We may have some families in our current system that would opt for play care instead, they can make that choice. And like I said, if we have more than 11 interested families, we'll do a lottery and we'll, go kind of first come, first serve for that. So we're excited for the opportunity. I think it'll be a nice partnership.
Then, Adam, we have some sole source curriculum.
Yeah, so we have, as the Board of Education knows, there are quite a few purchasing and procurement requirements, and many of them are around buying off like contract lists or getting multiple bids. So we make sure that we're, doing the best we can to get the best prices. But in some instances, especially with curriculum, there is only one place that sells the curriculum. Usually that's like intellectual property, copyrighted material. So you really can't get multiple quotes and you can't shop it around because there's only one place to get it. And so there's a process to become a sole source vendor for a school district where the district's legal counsel reviews information that we provide. The organization has to provide documentation about them being a sole source. And so you'll see 2 sole source approvals. We're not approving an amount. We're basically saying that if we buy materials from these organizations, that we don't have to shop it around because there is no one to shop for, and that they're the only place that sells these materials. So the first one is for foundations, which you heard about as part of our literacy presentation. That is connected to Wilson. And then the second one is a company, Vista, which is world language curriculum. And we're going to use this curriculum for Spanish and French in the middle schools. It will bring alignment to our middle school curriculum. We currently use it at the elementary school, but we didn't hit a threshold where we needed to have a sole source in terms of how much we purchased from them. But now including the middle schools, we likely will. And so you'll see a sole source resolution 5.14 on the agenda.
Then we have a lemon tree on the agenda that was donated to the greenhouse. So we appreciate that donation from one of our families. And then there's a pretty lengthy resolution on buy board. So I asked Josh to just explain what that resolution means to the.
So we participate in a few different cooperatives that go out and bid for items for us. So always in our search for the best priced items, and sometimes there are items that we're looking to purchase that are unique. We look to see if there's a cooperative that has gone through the process of going to bid for us. So Buy Board is based in Texas, and they have about 30,000 school districts that participate in it. So they have a really big economy of scale. So there's some great pricing, particularly on furniture and outdoor furniture that we want to participate in so that we can save some funds and also not have to go out to bid for some items that they have available to us.
And is this the first year we're participating in this co-op?
Yeah, this is the first year. This is a new cooperative. We have never participated with them before.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. And before we begin the strategic planning update, everyone's moving up tomorrow, which is really exciting. We have our elementary and middle school ceremonies. On Saturday is graduation. And then next week is our last week of school. So we are looking forward to celebrating all of our students in the upcoming days. It's a really exciting time here in the school district. And so this is our end of the year review of our strategic plan. I'm going to go through most of these slides myself. And then when we get to information that we're presenting that is new, then I'm going to ask my colleagues to share their specific slides. So as the board knows, we are in the third year of a 5-year strategic plan that has target areas for us to focus efforts around improvement and enhancing instruction. And so we have 3 collective teams that have been working together over the course of 2 years on specific areas within the plan. We have a strategic planning committee, we have a science of reading group, and then we have a community culture and belonging team, all at the district level, made up of faculty, staff, and administrators. And these are the 5 areas that we have been working on. And each year we've been making improvements in each of the 5 areas. And we began this process by engaging in multiple studies around a variety of issues. And we also reconfigured our profile into student literacies because we felt that was more reflective of what we were trying to achieve collectively K through 5. So of the studies that we've done, there's one outstanding study that we anticipate presenting to the board in the near future, and that is our energy audit. And so just to highlight some of the work that's been done over the past 3 years, we've created academic teams at the high school. We've added world language. We have shared programming at the high school for the middle school, which includes clubs, tutoring, continuing education courses. We've added advisory to the high school. We've decreased elementary class sizes. We've added the IB Careers Pathway program to Life School. We have created a cultural calendar and are holding events K through 12 here at the high school, anchored in our identity-based clubs at Greeley. We've reshaped board policies to support neutrality. We've entered into a partnership with Northwell Health to give our students access to mental health services. We have implemented a new phonemic program called Haggerty K1. We have created a TSP program at Bell Middle School for both middle schools. We've increased faculty leadership opportunities. We've done executive coaching for the admin team to increase retention and support. We revamped our college admissions process and are now helping our students in different ways based on their feedback. We've reduced our fund balance to offset the budget. We've enhanced our district-wide safety and security systems. We redesigned our Middle School International Day. We created a new student programming opportunity for transfers, grades 1 through 2. We've added a restorative framework to our student discipline process. We have been able to support the creation of parent-teacher conferences K through 12. We have implemented new science curriculum at the middle school, and we've created student governments K through 12 with the assistance of Matthew. And so next year, some of the shifts that we've already talked about at the board level is we are moving to a new scheduling model at Horace Greeley High School, particularly on days 5 and 6, where we are offering students the opportunity to engage in different activities under the supervision of our teachers. And so through this new enhancement model, there's a section of time for students to engage in peer leadership, student government, specific counseling groups, to access music ensembles, particularly for students whose schedules do not allow for that, to get extra help, to explore independent projects, and to receive targeted AIS support. And so we're in the process of finalizing what this looks like at Greeley, but we're really excited about the opportunities that we will have for students moving into the new school year. We've also redesigned peer leadership, where the peer leaders will now have an active role in 9 through 12 advisory on day 5, and then we'll be reinforcing and supporting their 9th grade students who will be in their advisory on day 6. So we're really also excited to see how this program grows through this experience. And if you look back at our strategic plan and for the work of the high school, peer leadership was identified as an area of reinvention, and we have created a new model with student feedback that we're really excited about. The middle school also has restructured and created a WIN period to support executive functioning, advisory, enrichment, music lessons. We've received a lot of concern from parents about students missing their core classes for music lessons. That will no longer be the case. We'll be using the WIN period and also specials. We're also differentiating some of our lessons based on student ability, and this will also be a place where students can receive extra help. And so now I'm going to ask Yasmin to talk about our new special education opportunities. We presented to the board in January that we would be offering an 811 class in the middle school. We are now going to be offering an 811 class district-wide at Grafflin. So, Yasmin?
So the new addition to our 811 continuum will be at Grafflin. It will be for kindergarten and first grade students. It will be a self-contained option for students who need extra supports. And we are fully underway with developing that classroom space, purchasing obviously new furniture, designing it with the needs of the students in mind. And we will also have a 5-6 continuum at Bell Middle School, which will also be focused on really supporting foundational math and language arts skills, with the opportunity for rigor to still allow our students to be in the inclusive setting for their social studies and science and part of the encores.
And so in addition to expanding the 811 courses or opportunity down to the elementary school, in looking at our data from our TSP program at Bell, we've made the decision to expand TSP to 7 Bridges. So Yasmin, do you want to talk a little bit about the data that we looked at when we made this decision?
Absolutely. During the school year for 25-26, the TSP program at Bell has had 588 documented contacts of supports for students. And the program data indicate that TSP functions primarily as was designed, as a preventative and supportive intervention. The most common areas for participation of students centered on academic support, attendance and engagement, emotional regulation, and how to successfully transition throughout the school day. So students may need support at the beginning of the day, at difficult times in which they are navigating maybe a return to class. Maybe they need academic support to allow them to make a flawless transition back into their classroom. And really, these data suggest that TSP has played a significant role in promoting student success while reducing barriers to participation in the educational environment. And so based upon these data, we've made the decision to expand to Seven Bridges for their own TSP program.
Thank you. And then we had a task force at Greeley that was co-chaired by Josh and Sandy Seppi, the principal, that focused on safety. So Josh, do you want to share
So
some of the recommendations that came out of that task force?
yes, so that task force recommended having additional guard hours at the high school, particularly around athletics and extracurriculars, and also during large events that are at the high school. They also recommended updating the school maps and all of the wayfinding signs that are around the school so that people can easily navigate the school so they know where to go and know where to go in an emergency. We discussed L building safety and if there are improvements that we need to make to the protocols and the policies and any of the doors that are in there. So one of the recommendations is adding an additional locking mechanism to one of the office doors. We also discussed having, for all after-school activities and during athletics, having safety plans and drills so that if there are any issues that happen during that time, they know how to evacuate, where to go, if there's a fire, if there's any safety emergency, making sure that any of the after-school clubs or athletics know how to handle that, and also made recommendations through our communications and camera system upgrade. They made some specific recommendations that we should make sure that we follow in the high school for the coming year.
Thank you. Okay, and the APPR committee has been meeting. We made a major decision the other day after evaluating different evaluation rubrics, which are the rubrics we use to support teachers in their instruction and give them feedback, that we are going to move ahead with using a revised Danielson rubric. So we have 6 years to redesign our APPR process. So we have a significant amount of time, but now that we have decided that we are going to move forward with Danielson, we are planning in October to analyze that rubric and determine what indicators we would focus on through our evaluation system in a collaborative feedback process, because this APPR development process is collaborative between the school district and the CCT. So we're moving forward, slow and steady. Not many school districts have had their plans approved. I think maybe only 3, but we are in a good place because we at least know the framework for which we are going to be anchoring our plan within. So I anticipate when we do our update in January of next year, I'll have much more to share. Sandy and I are chairing Committee 2027. The 3 main areas that we are focused on right now is if we should be moving APs down to 10th grade, if we should be restricting the number of APs juniors and seniors can take, and if life skills should be offered to 10th graders. New York State just yesterday released some information about graduation requirements, but we really need to take some time to determine what that means for us based on the information that they released, but that is also part of the work of this committee. We have been meeting regularly. We have done focus groups. We've collected information from our juniors and seniors. And so our plan is to reconvene in September and be in a place where we know for our current 7th graders who will be our incoming ninth graders next year, what we will be offering them in the course catalog. And we look forward to sharing what our students shared with us and the good work of this committee in the fall. As the board knows, because you've participated in learning experiences with the administrators, we have been increasing our professional development and capacity to understand and identify students who are disconnected from their peers and from us. So our second superintendent conference day, all of our staff will be engaged in professional development in how to identify students who are alone and how to help connect them to each other. And we also, as a part of that work, will be in our strategic planning committee and in our community culture and belonging team, we are going to revitalize and revamp our K through 12 student mentoring program. Okay, Andrew has been meeting with staff as an outgrowth of our strategic planning fellowship. So I'd like him to talk with you a little bit about what that work has looked like. So.
Sure. So after tomorrow, I will have visited groups of teachers in 5 to 6 schools, just not been to Greeley yet. And the goal is here to seek to better understand the staff data that we get in the staff sense of belonging survey. It's sort of where this idea originated from. So this is sort of a moment that's a little less formal than a survey or a focus group to talk a little bit about what their experience is like, mention some of the findings in the sense of belonging survey, and ask them to help me understand a little bit better. Strengthen professional relationships between HR and the faculty. I'm in the business of the people of the district, and so having a regular practice of sitting down and having lunch with teachers throughout the districts really strengthens that. And people have already, I think it's going to help as I pop into people's classes now that they've had nice conversations with me if I haven't had it before. And so I think that's really helpful. And then to establish really an additional direct line of communication between the faculty and the district office. They exist. This is another one so that they can speak with me in a less formal setting. And sometimes they're saying things that are really important for us to know and know at the district level and respond to really quickly. So it provides that opportunity as well. And so far, the time is really well spent.
And then Adam's going to talk with you about our work around technology and screen time.
Thank you. Before I do, can I just revisit pre-K for a quick second? Some friends at home that were watching shared that I shared the wrong date. I shared the dress rehearsal date for the webinar, which is June 22nd. The actual webinar is June 23rd. So make sure the letter reflects that appropriately, but I just want to correct the record for the pre-K webinar. June 23rd, 1:30. I'll make sure the letter is the right thing. So
nice to know people are watching.
They
I think they're
up
probably
on that.
our staff.
I got quick text. Yeah, there's some of our pre-K friends.
They still
appreciate
count.
that. So we'll make sure that gets corrected in what we post. So back to technology and screen time. So we know this continues to be a hot topic locally and also nationally, if not internationally. We've collected some great data. We've surveyed students, parents, and staff K-12, and so we have some really good information to kind of grapple with and digest. This is going to be one that's going to be really tricky for us and for the community. I don't know that there's any one right answer for this that's going to satisfy everyone. We understand just based on the survey data that there's some really strong feelings about how technology should be integrated in school. But what I think we can commit to is a really thoughtful process and a measured approach to just making some good decisions with regard to how our kids are using technology. We've made some steps already with our screen time website, but we'll continue to work on that next year.
We have a big meeting over the summer where we're pulling in staff, faculty, and administrators to look at all our data to determine if we're going to make some adjustments to this too before we even open. So I just want you to know that that work is ongoing. And then we have some targeted curriculum priorities that are anchored in our strategic plan. So
that's right. So several of these you're familiar with the literacy presentation at our last meeting. So you'll see 2 related to literacy. We also have a new physical education curriculum that we had a curriculum review committee of physical educators as well as some administrators. So 512 will be using Open Phys Ed. We've got a professional development plan. That's actually an open source curriculum. They make a little bit of money on the professional development that they use to support it, but you can actually see that on the website. Some great materials there. We're in the process of building a K-8 art scope and sequence. You're familiar with our work in middle school language to make sure that we're aligning the 2 middle schools, especially with a focus on Spanish and French, which we're going to use that Vista curriculum for. And we're going to start a selection process for K-4 for science. We've been using a product, Science 21, which is locally developed through BOCES. And it's about time that we look at some other products that are out there. We've been impressed with Smithsonian at the middle schools. Maybe Smithsonian, that'll be in the mix, but we're going to see what else is out there. So we make sure our students get a really strong science experience K4.
And then our biggest shift, which is going to be really exciting if we can pull this off, is this Salesforce. So Josh, go ahead.
Throughout this year, there were multiple committees that discussed how we have numerous systems that we want to combine into one system for communication and for gathering information. We had come across a product through Salesforce called Learner 360, which doesn't replace our systems, but takes the information into our own agents and starts to then build us our own app for communication. So we're in the infancy stage of it, and we've learned about it now, and now we're learning what we need to do to begin to create that. So in the next slide, over this summer and in early next school year, what we're going to start to do is start to pull our data from our HR and business systems in to see how that can start to build a app for us for human resources, for business, and for the folks within the community, so that we can start to test it out in small pockets and then start to build and grow from there. We just have came up with some dates over the summer to have them come in and work with us on those.
Big planning end of year update. So welcome any questions or discussion. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I've got a few.
Go ahead.
I guess first for Andrew, thank you for the work you're doing towards evaluating and seeing how we can grow around improving the faculty and staff experience. So first, I'd just like to have an understanding of timeline, because I know we talked about this. The genesis of this was really back in January at the previous strategic planning update. So I hear that you're through 5 of the 6 schools and starting to do some work. What sort of timeline do you expect to have some goals identified that we can work to improve? Would that be, an interim update in the fall before next January?
So the goals are emerging now, but
Okay.
in terms of putting it together into a presentation for you, I think that would be fine.
Okay, thanks. Because I just, I would like us to move at an adequate, I had thought we might have some goals today, and I hear that we don't, and that's fine, and we should work through the process at the proper speed. But I'd like to, as soon as those goals are ready, hear them rather than waiting until next January to see what they are and to see what it takes and make sure we have the resources to track them. I also heard you speak about how this is an opportunity to offer a direct line of communication from our faculty and our staff to central administration. I'm curious though, in your conversations, what sense and what is your evaluation of our current communication and procedures through our chain of command, from faculty and staff to our building leaders up to central administration? Is that a welcoming enough environment, or is there work to do there through our standard internal communication procedures?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's some great strength in the standard communication procedures now. So one strong theme that I'm hearing is a really strong appreciation and a really close working relationship with building administration from all of the teachers. So if they're identifying a gap, it's not there, and we obviously work very, very closely with all of our building leaders on a daily basis, and so that connection is very strong. What they have identified is getting to know the administrators at the district level closer, both in a working relationship and direct lines of communication. So that's a theme that's emerging, that they would actually like more of that. And so as a way of work, at least with human resources, for me to be meeting regularly and ongoing. So I don't view this as a 2 or 3 month initiative where I will collect data and then have the answer and then stop. I look at it as a change of the way of work. So the way I'm meeting with teachers now is not in a systematic, it is systematic, but it's not in a comprehensive, I'm going to go through one entire school and then I'm done with that school. I meet with 3 to 4 groups at a time in schools and then circle back around, and we'll continue to do so it's sort of in part answering that need that's there. So so to answer the structures that are in place, I think are very strong, and that's reflected in what I've heard. But there is a need and a desire for a direct line of communication, another one to the district office.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about it as it evolves and you iterate through it. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
No, I'll just say, I don't have a question, but I'll just comment on that. And I really appreciate that there is a shift in sort of like how, like, just like you said, how we do our work here, and a shift of culture and wanting and just sort of putting it out there that this is a desire of us. This is what we want. This is not something like we need to do because somebody asked us to do it, or we thought maybe this will look good for us and we're going to collect all the data and then finish there and, see you later. It's more of, okay, no, this is what we want because it's important to us that we have communication and that we have an understanding, that we build relationships within, the buildings and, central administration and et cetera. Right, and that's how we want to shift our culture in how we do things here, and how we want that their voices are important. And I really just want to say thank you, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Just a clarifying question for Adam surrounding technology. Thank you. I think you framed it well today. I think for me and for many people I speak with, everyone, there's a desire for an evaluation, a thoughtfulness about intentionality, and it sounds like we're doing all of that. And so I just wanted to clarify again, time frame. It was going to be working over the summer to think about efficacy, appropriateness, evaluating our applications, et cetera. And was that was K to 12? Was that evaluation, or will it be only certain school levels?
Yeah, so the primary concerns, most of the concerns we're hearing from the elementary school, and then some from the middle school, and less so for the high school. I think technology integration at the high school is still concerned with there's concerns with regard to social media use, things like that. But our focus has mainly been elementary school and middle school. But we did survey K-12 students, K-12 parents, K-12 staff. So we have all of that information. So I think this is going to continue to evolve. I think the landscape's going to shift with regard to like research and recommendations out of these reputable larger organizations, in some cases like national bodies, anywhere from pediatrics to national education bodies. You'll see universities start to weigh in. So we'll have more and more information as we go. And I'd imagine that even our work in the summer is going to evolve as we go through the school year. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more tangible recommendations or requirements from the state education department. They are hearing and feeling the same kinds of concerns and pressures. And so I think it's going to be very much a kind of rolling, evolving situation for quite a while. And we'll have to respond to our community, and also as these like research and best practices come through to make those adjustments.
So we're meeting July 29th, and we're going to be looking at a K-12. But you can anticipate that if there's going to be any significant type of shifts, it will probably be K-6.
Understood. And then on time frame, would we be expecting something in the fall, a presentation to us, an update in the fall prior to the next January strategic planning update?
Yeah, I think probably what I would do is I would present to you where we are at the August meeting, right? Because I'll know coming out of this committee meeting if we're going to make any adjustments, unless I have to send it back to the full faculty for feedback. But what I would like to do is have this established before school begins. So it'll either be the August meeting at the beginning, or the September meeting before we open. Because I want to make sure parents know how technology is being used before kids walk back into the building. That's why we're meeting over the summer.
Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And also to level set with our building leaders as well.
Yes, and I think part of too, I mean, I pushed out what we were doing to a lot of the other school districts who didn't really have a framework like this. I think we got ahead of creating a framework for us, even though it was released so late in the year. But I think for us, even though we didn't think about it in this way until now, it gave us a baseline to be able to build upon. So for that, I'm really grateful. So our full staff knows that we're meeting on the 29th to do this, because I've emailed them all. And so I'm hoping that we'll have many of them participate in this opportunity. But it is an elementary and secondary committee.
Building on Matt's question, do you anticipate, depending on what the outcome of that discussion is, that there might be professional development required for our faculty? And if so, do we have the resources in our budget and the time to provide that?
We definitely would have the resources and the time because we have 2 superintendent conference days in the beginning of the year. I'm not sure if there's going to be a need for professional development. We might just need to provide clarity regarding expectations. So I have to see. I'll have a better idea after our big meeting.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Got 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yasmin, thank you for the description of the 811 programs. Could you just highlight again for us, what are some of the outcomes we're hoping to achieve for our students? Either will we be able to bring students back in district, or are there other outcomes that we're going to be evaluating to see if this change is benefiting our district?
So it's a good question. You know, when you look at the kindergarten and first grade, there would be students that could have potentially either gone out of district if the class did not exist, or students that we would like to offer a land in a class that will allow them to really shore up their skills and then work on socialization and transition out into the integrative setting, and be able to do that through a real analysis of their data on how they're functioning in terms of their academics, their ability to self-manage and self-regulate with their behaviors, and also be able to be ready for socialization in the general education classes. So we're going to be looking at that through very specific rubrics in order to be able to determine when students are ready for those opportunities. And really for the 5th and 6th grade, you know, it's also providing an opportunity to extend the continuum. You're looking at foundational skills for English and math, but the students are still going to be in the ICT settings for social studies and science and all of their encores. So we're really looking at layering interventions and supporting them at their goal level in order to be able to then say, okay, you have now these foundational skills that you can take to science, you can take to social studies, and really being able to individualize that in a much richer environment rather than in the inclusive environment for math and English. It's much more difficult because, you know, you have a larger class and then you have 2 teachers and it's a push-in model. So it's just targeting the work in a very different way.
Thanks.
I'll just ask one question that relates to Tim's question. So then, is there any consideration, or have you considered maybe even while planning for this 8 to 1 class to open? And, you know, I'm just really excited that we are adding on from the middle school to an elementary level as well. But as opposed to the 8 to 1, a 12 to 1 class, and maybe it was a consideration, but you thought that this was the better fit, and maybe there might be considerations for future. Can you say a little more about that?
Sure. When making considerations about what type of class to provide, we're looking really at the 811 in relationship to supporting students' academic progress, social emotional progress, and obviously self-management. So the ability to self-regulate, the ability to have the skills that are directly taught in the small group environment so that then we can scaffold and support in the inclusive environment. And as far as, you know, considerations for a 12-1-2, that right now is something that would be maybe a long-term goal, but at this moment in trying to really put together a very comprehensive program for both a middle school 5-6 811 and a kindergarten first grade 811 at the elementary level, those we're really putting our full effort and and all of our resources into to make certain that it's the most robust program possible. There are a lot of moving parts when you're opening a new program, as that everyone knows. When we were opening the TSP program this year, you have to do a lot of coordination, and all of our teammates, our administrators, and all of our teachers at the building level have been phenomenal. But right now, that's been our primary focus. And then what will be the next step for those students before we move to any other continuum acknowledgments for ratio?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I had a question around the life school and the introduction of the International Baccalaureate. So how did it go? And how are we proposing to continue to evaluate the student outcomes under this model to validate that this was the direction to go in?
Can you say more about, like, when you say how did it go, like what do you want me to share with you what happened when we had our focus groups with the juniors and how they explain to us their experience? Are you looking for us to share with you their results on the examinations over the summer? I mean,
I'm interested in the very succinct maybe summary of some of the focus group highlights. I'd also be interested in, I think I had previously heard one of the hopes with this shift would be greater, I believe it was like internship, career opportunities through this change. I'm curious if that has materialized.
okay. So do you want me to have a presentation prepared for you to share
Sure,
with
just
that
a
at the
small
committee? Sure.
presentation just to summarize it and to say, yes, this is doing what we thought it would. Does it need shifts? Does it not? Thank you.
Yep, we can prepare that.
Curious about Committee 2027. I understand looking at potential shifts to AP courses. When would we anticipate a report on that committee's work and the criteria that they're thinking of in that evaluation? I know, obviously, understanding balancing rigor, opportunity, mental health and wellness, considering the pressure that students are on. What are some of the guiding pillars?
The December board meeting is when we would report out
Okay.
our recommendation. And we would do that, our faculty would be there sharing that with you.
Thank you. Could you also talk a little bit, I know that for the 26-27 school year, we'll be leaving the strategic fellowship model and using committees. And just, could you talk about how that mechanism will be different?
Yes.
And why it'll hopefully help us achieve better student outcomes?
Yes, so what we found this year is that when we are running fellowships, they are for a longer period of time, and there is a connection back to the building. So for the community and culture and belonging team, we felt like we should structure that in the fellowship model because there is a requirement that all members of our district team serve on the building-based team. There isn't that requirement for strategic planning. Strategic planning is like a think tank. And so to increase participation, we reconfigured strategic planning into a committee model. And so we have a committee, a secondary committee running after school right after the secondary group lets out. And then we have an elementary committee running after school after the elementary group runs out to increase participation because it becomes harder for the secondary folks to stay on until the elementary's let out, and it gets harder for the elementary folks to make it on time. And so we sliced it into two separate entities, but they're coming together over the summer for the tech meeting so that we could get more staff involved and that it could be have more of a focus based on the specific needs of that particular age level. And that was at the recommendation of, I work through this with the principals because they're on both committees with me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that was a good question because I really do appreciate that because I think the constant that we do here is that it's over and over again, it might be the same faculty that are able to participate. It's time constraints, other responsibilities, commitments, and whatnot. But I do also think that when there's a really large group where there's mixing of different levels in terms of building wide, sometimes it's hard to focus on what matters to your building and your grade levels at your specific building. And so to have that separate, you increase participation, but also you increase the level of participation in voices of how strongly they're advocating for something that they feel is really necessary for the district or the success of our students in their particular building. And then making that bridge and connection with the other buildings across the district, I think, is also valuable because we don't work in a silo here. We must align across the grades, across the district, and I'm hopeful that it will bring us greater participation in terms of voices being heard and concerns being addressed, and being able to navigate and partner with a lot more faculty members than we have done ever before.
We also didn't have the fellowship model and the committee model available to us when we began the Strategic Planning Fellowship and Community Cultural Belonging Fellowship 2 years ago because the contract wasn't settled. So this is something we included in the contract to be more responsive to faculty involvement.
Thank you.
I think I'm up to my final question regarding literacy. Of course, introducing, adopting foundations and the fish tank and units of study blend. What's the plan and the timeline for evaluating the success of that shift? And when would we expect a report back to the board level of how that's going?
With regard to the timeline, we have some summer professional development days where our team's going to start to work or begin to work on blending those models. For some of that team, they've piloted Fish Tank already, so we're going to get that second grade team together for a few days over the summer to start that work. We'll start to collect data as soon as our NWEA assessments start to roll in. We're leaning towards doing the oral reading fluency. We'd like to get our director of elementary education. There's a oral reading fluency that we've piloted. It's a product through NWEA where the students can read into the microphone and it actually will track errors and fluency rates and things like that. So we'll get some additional data through there. So we'll collect data through the year. We can provide updates as the board sees fit. Perhaps a mid-year update. We'll be able to see some growth data, from the fall assessment, and then the winter assessment. We'll have those NWEA scores for reading. And we also use a writing sampling methodology as well, so we'll be able to collect data as we go.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think that's important that we are looking at data, but I think apart from the testing data, right, whether it's NWEA or the ELA and the math test during the year, I would like some anecdotal, experiential, like straight from the teachers, data, if that can be collected, because as we know, as an educator, everybody knows that some data cannot be translated into numbers and are not, like you've presented before, our numbers have been good. This is not a shift that we're making, or we're not doing a change because our numbers were not good, right? So we need to sort of be able to see, okay, how has this enhanced our student learning and experience in terms of literacy, right? Are kids more excited about writing, right? I would love to know that. Are teachers being more explicit in about the way that they teach reading, right? Letter sound correlation, whatever it may be. I think it's important to hear that from the teachers and what's working, what's not, right? And how have we improved in terms of grammar skills. Are teachers in the middle school then at some point, and then in the high school reporting back, okay, kids are coming in, understanding, right? What a subject is, what a predicate is, right? Because I think that's something that we struggle through right now, or it's just plainly inconsistent across the district. So more than the testing data, which we know they're going to do excellent in, I would love to see other ways how we can translate that. And we might have to get creative in how we present that. So that would be helpful. I would love to see that.
Thank you. I appreciate that desire for the subjective reporting from the faculty. I agree. That'd be very valuable. And then you reminded me of the last question I wanted to ask, which was again around the world language and how will we start to evaluate? Will we be watching fifth grade foreign language proficiency now that we'll have rising fifth graders who have had world language at the elementary level? How will we use the data that we're seeing or the subjective reporting on our middle school language experience to, if necessary, modify, improve the elementary level?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Do you mind? I think that might be a little bit more nuanced than the literacy portion, just in my personal opinion, because it has been, yes, it's been a year of Spanish learning, language learning acquisition, but it's not something that's been done over time. We don't have that over time evidence yet or experience. I think it's also, we have to think about how much instruction are they getting right now. It's really not the same amount of instruction that a 7th and 8th grader might be getting in that one particular language. And so I think that we should have ways to see and monitor and evaluate student outcomes, but I think it will be a little bit more nuanced and pretty different from the way that literacy would be measured. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it is. If I could add to that, the program Vista Listos actually comes in levels by letter. So there's level A, B, C, and we have kind of this sliding scale of how we anticipate this will roll out, because the idea is the more exposure these students get at the elementary school, they'll enter in a different place in 5th grade over the next few years. So students in kindergarten, for example, are going to come into middle school with even though it's only twice a week now for these short bursts of, or I was like 2 days out of every 6 now for 20 minutes, the hope is that over time will accumulate and like increase their proficiency as they enter the middle school. So this curriculum gives us the opportunity to kind of slide the letters of the programs, and we try to be very thoughtful about the curriculum that we chose related to even like the pictures of the ages of the students, because a level A this year might be different than a level A. Like what grade a level A starts in this year is different in maybe 3 or 4 years as those younger students go. So we're able to like slide that curriculum across depending on what the students are able, which is also going to help us kind of measure the level of the elementary. If the kids now are coming in at a level A, and then a year or 2 from now they're coming in at a B, a C, we'll be able to see that shift as we go. That's the plan, and we can update you on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Is that it? Okay, great. So we are going to move on to our committee.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yes.
Sorry. Regarding the APPR committee that you were mentioning, Dr. Ackerman, can you talk a little bit more about the differences between what will potentially be the new tool versus the old one?
So we're in the process of diving into the new tool, but there's new language. It's more culturally responsible. It has belonging within it. It has a broader application to different pedagogical areas. And they also are, now they've been talking about this for a while, but they did share with us that they were going to provide a different instrument for our clinical staff that would help support our evaluation process for our untenured and tenured teachers in those particular content areas. So what we need to do, though, is the scope of the evaluations are wide. So we have to determine collectively what indicators are we going to be looking for when we go into classrooms, and then what that structure is going to look like. Because we have a little bit of flexibility within that maybe we didn't have initially when the APPR was designed. And so we're moving along in the work, and we'll present an update for you when we're ready to dig into that part of it. But right now it's looking at the tool, understanding the revisions to the actual tool, and then deciding, okay, what are the look-fors when we go into our classes. And we'll do that collectively with everybody. We feel like it's an important part of the process.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all done? Okay, so we are going to move on to committee reports. Ms. Dorfman, will you lead us?
Sure. Okay, so our last meeting was on the 4th. So between now and then, we had a policy meeting, which the policy meeting was on the 8th. So we'll get into that when we get to the policies on the agenda. And then they had the CSF Mom Jong event. Do you want to talk about that, Allison, or do you want me to continue on?
You continue there.
Okay.
I'll talk about it too.
So CSF threw their first ever Mom Jong party, which I thought was super awesome and really well attended. There probably was 50 some women there.
Yeah, it was sold out.
I admit that I'm a total Mahjong fan right now. I've been playing for a few months and I'm addicted. So I had a great night, and I think everyone who came thought it was really fun, a great way for CSF to raise some more money and keep all of us addicts with our fix. So they're going to do it again in the future. So I would really suggest to anyone to play some Mahjong and come out to the next event. And we also went to the HGSF final meeting, which was a lovely dinner at BIA. Thank you so much for having that. That was a great night where we said thank you to Lisa Berman, the outgoing president, and welcomed Tori Bender, the incoming for next year. So that was a lovely night. Boosters had their senior night where they honored all their senior athletes, and that went really well. And their final dinner meeting is next week. And today we had the final luncheon for the PTA, which was a lovely, delicious event, and where we said goodbye to Suda and welcome Stephanie to next year. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did.
No. Did anybody want to say anything about any of the committee meetings or the events around the district that you've attended to that you want to share?
I will. So CSF had their final meeting on Monday. And even though it was supposed to be the final meeting, they realized they have a little more work they want to do and are going to continue meeting. But after getting through regular business, where they discussed the very successful Mahjong event, where we even coerced Dr. Ackerman into playing.
Yes, you're an excellent teacher.
Thank you. I tried. Afterwards, it was a time to celebrate the work of the board, especially the members that are rolling off and welcoming the incoming members. They, extended gratitude to everybody on the board that, we've had such a lovely working relationship this year, and they are really excited about continuing this partnership, as am I. So.
Great. I think the one other meeting that we just had today, this morning, we have 2 meetings a year, and we started this maybe 4 years ago. We meet with, we have the president and the vice president of the CCT, the bargaining unit, the teachers union, and then we have the president and the vice president of the board, and then we have Dr. Ackerman and Mr. Corsilia, who's in charge of HR. So we have 3 different units, if you may say, representing their individual units and trying to say that although we're doing separate work and we represent different people, they're really all our people, and we come and we talk about very openly about what the needs are, what the expectations are, what our concerns are, and everybody has a say. And so I find those meetings very productive and really feel like I come away with an understanding of what the teachers specifically are feeling and what is it that we can do better to help support our teachers. And I think we can also say then what are our expectations from the district and what we would like to see more happening in around the district and what we hear from our community members regarding teachers and et cetera. Anything else?
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So public comment. We welcome public comments, and in respect for each other's time, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Board members may be contacted via email or phone. After public comment period has been completed, board members may have a discussion amongst themselves regarding comments presented. Anyone for public comment? No, we have 3 people in the audience, and they said no. Okay. So approvals and ratifications. We have item 3.1 is accepting the minutes to the June 3rd board meeting. I will move that. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.2, be it resolved, the Board of Ed hereby accepts the minutes to the June 4th, 2026 board special meeting. I will move. May I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. 3.3, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the minutes of the June 8th special meeting. We've had a lot of special meetings because we needed to get together to do a lot of different things. I will move that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on 3.4, which is the policy 1020. It's the fundraising activity. It is our first reading. Dr. Ackerman, if you can
Yes.
share.
Yeah, maybe it would be helpful, President Wong, if we began by talking about some of the concerns that have been raised by parents to the board around fundraising, and then I could talk a little bit about how we're trying to address that, but we are going to send this out for community feedback.
Okay.
So,
I'll start. I think there has been some concern from our community members in terms of how families have been asked to contribute outside of what is necessary, I guess, in terms of, kids are running fundraisers and asking neighbors and friends and family to contribute to either a specific cause in terms of charity that they would like to give to, which is a great thing, or fundraising for the needs and purposes of their team that they are currently on. And this is not a specific team. It's not specific to certain teams. It's not the same across teams or seasons. It is very, it varies. It varies. And I think there was sort of a feeling of, could we have some clarification and understanding on what do we need to do? Why are we paying these? Are there team dues? Then there was them fundraising. And then if we're doing it with this charity, how much of what we give is going to this charity? Who's accounting for this? What is happening? So I think we just needed some clarification around, okay, and these are all great things, but I think sometimes it's not the same across the different sports teams, and people just wanted clarifications around it and asking if there's a policy around that as well. Also because it's not unique to our district, especially particularly with this one particular app.
yes.
And so it's something that has come up in conversations in other districts as well.
Yes, so we talked about really what we need to consider are 2 different pathways for fundraising. First, there are moments where parents like to raise funds for our programs or our teams, and then there are moments when our students like to do that on behalf of the school district. So the first thing I'd like to share is that we have policies that require our permission to be able to use any of our teams, our names, our image, in any way for promotion or for fundraising. So we thought about what are the guardrails or boundaries that we could put in place to provide clarity on when it is okay to fundraise on behalf of a team or a club in the school district. And it looks very different for families than it does for students who are raising money for, for a community service initiative or for activities that they would like to engage in on behalf of really their clubs. So our first section talks about how communities can fundraise on behalf of the school district, and that it first establishes that parents don't have to do it for kids to be involved in any of our activities. We want to make that very clear. And that if people are raising money on behalf of the district, there's got to be a clear line to where that money goes. And that we may need to be involved with not only how is that money collected, but how it's dispersed, because it's being done so on behalf of the school district. And so we talked about that in this policy, and we also talked about how if community members would like to do a fundraiser for a nonprofit, we need to approve that. And that happens all the time. We have bake sales and all kinds of promotional events around different causes, mostly associated with like a particular athletic game. And so all that we want to continue. We just want to be sure that it's being done in the right way so that there's no questions or inconsistency in how our teams and our parents are going about raising money, and that it complies with the law. For our students, we went a little deeper into like what is okay for students to do. And so the first is, of course, any students that are fundraising on behalf of the school, they have to be approved to do so by us. They can't just go out and say, I'm raising money for a team or a club. And we have like all kinds of protocols to collect money, so all that has to be followed. And we also, in our policy, talk about how it's important that students know that they don't have to raise money to be a part of anything. That's not something that's required. And it was important for us to talk about how if students want to raise money, it should be done through active means, like car washes or fruit sales, not through apps where they're just pushing links to people. And that we also reestablished in this part of the policy, even though it's in the club policy, that students can't go out and solicit from their peers. Anything that happens in the school has to be passive. So that's why when we did Stuff the Bus, it's donation bins in the front. You're not going around asking students to put things in those bins. You're not creating competitions among students. So we really put the parameters in place that comply with law and comply with like really what's right and healthy for kids who want to do good, but also don't want to be burdened by like a fundraising task that doesn't seem to be appropriate given their age level. And so, and then there's some language around 501c3s and where the money goes and how and how we would distribute the money. And so all of that is within this policy. It's been sent already to faculty and staff. It's been revised. I plan to push it out in the week. We'll get feedback back. I'm sure we'll take some feedback from the community. I've also pushed it to the auditor, and it'll be revised again. So this is in no way ready for it to be adopted. I don't anticipate it coming back with no changes, but it is a first attempt at trying to address a problem that has seemed to grow based on opportunities through technology that didn't exist in the past.
Yes,
How's that?
Yes, thank you. And I just want to say that it is just, I want everybody to be clear that it is important that we go through this process and that we understand what it is, what was the intent at the beginning of when, teams started fundraising, and what is it that like we would like to keep doing, but how do we do it in a safe, legal way that is going to protect not just the district, but our students and our coaches and all the parents that are involved. Ms. Dorfman, did you have anything to add? Because I know you've heard some, or you've experienced in terms of having a child in sports as well.
Just really what you've touched on, that some teams have dues and some don't. What exactly are the dues paying for? Where are they going? Who's holding the funds? Those are questions that come up every year from families because some teams have them and some teams don't, and it just hasn't been consistent. So I think just the clarification around what's required, what's not, and then, when kids are having their bake sales or having their car washes, how they're supposed to be collecting those funds and what happens to them afterwards. So just that everyone is really clear about what the policies are and how we're handling it going forward.
Right, and also because, people in our community are very, very generous, that we can't have just all this like money floating around and, and not accounted for, or just not be consistent across what's happening, especially because our name is being used and we are being represented. And so we just want to make sure that everything is set so that everybody's clear about what we're doing and what is allowed, what is not allowed, and what is our intention, and that no student or family feels that they need to give a certain amount of money to be a part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then now moving on to 3.5, Policy 9080, approval of guest speakers invited by CCSD staff. And that's also a first reading. Dr. Ackerman?
Yeah, so this policy came out of a recommendation from the board to memorialize our procedures for how we support families in particular, or even educational experts that come into our schools to speak with our students. And so all of the procedures that are outlined in this policy are actually currently in place, and they were developed over the course of our 2-year fellowship with the Community Culture and Belonging team, which is a district level team made up of faculty and staff. It's also been pushed out to the faculty for feedback with no changes recommended, because this is the practice that we currently have in place. And so we're trying to just be really clear with families around how we can offer opportunities for them to come into our spaces in a way where the expectations are clear. And so this is what is intended through memorializing our current policies. And it's in the 900s because it's really a staff policy.
I'd like to share some thoughts on that. As you know, I've expressed some concern. I completely understand and appreciate the desire to add some structure, some evaluation thresholds for outside content that's being introduced to our students. I like the idea and the goal of scaffolding our students up so that they are able to advocate for themselves, they are able to share about themselves in the classroom. The concern I have about this, though, is for our youngest learners who have traditionally had some opportunities for their parents or their caretakers to come in and help those students introduce to the class some things about that child. Traditionally there's been the birthday book reading where a child will select a book of their choice that they would like their parent to read in front of their class to their peers, to share something that they like, that they think is important, that is aligned with their identity. And the concern that I have about this policy is the control over what can be brought into the classroom and the restriction that any of those books have to be from the school library. I know that in this proposed policy, there is an opportunity for outside experts to ask the principal to evaluate materials that are not in our libraries. So I would propose that in future consideration of this policy, we consider a carve-out for our youngest learners. Would it be K and 1? Would it be kindergarten, first and second? For these sorts of opportunities where parents are coming in and helping their child share something about themselves, that material could, in a similar fashion to outside experts, that material could be submitted in advance, potentially to the building principal, so we could have consistency across classrooms, but to obtain approval, to see if it is something that is appropriate to share in that classroom. I like that for a couple reasons. I like it because it gives those youngest learners the opportunity to bring in not just something from the library that they liked, but something from their home, something that they want to share with their peers. I like it because it gives, be it our principal or our librarians, it gives whoever's performing the evaluation as to whether or not this is appropriate for the classroom, it gives them practice evaluating content, having dialogue with parents if maybe a different choice needs to be made. And I like that idea of having open dialogue on these topics rather than just a blanket policy that says you're not allowed to bring in the book that you were excited to bring in because it's the special book you have at home. I think that's part of the feel of this culture, of this community. I think it's part of the culture that I'd like my children to grow up in. And so that's what I'll propose to our other board members as we think about this and see it at the next meeting when we have our second reading. I'd like to think about some draft language that would provide a carve out for K-1 or K-2, and certainly be open to expert subject matter advice from our administrators.
I just want to share, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Tim, that the Community Culture and Belonging team, faculty, staff, and administrators do not support putting the administrators and the teachers in a position where they are going to be managing and evaluating parent books. That's not what they felt was in the best interest of our students or their time or where their conversation should be. And so we created the policy in the policy committee because you asked me to, right? And so what you're asking me to now do is go back to the policy, like the Community Culture and Belonging team, and basically share with them that the board doesn't agree with their recommendation, and they are the group that would have to do this work. And they're not comfortable doing it, and they've been in uncomfortable conversations with parents around materials and books they'd like to bring into the classroom. And I don't know if that's the best use of their time when we can have a system in place to pull books from the library that have been designated appropriate for students. And so it's just something we really have to talk about. If I had known that we were developing the policy because the board didn't agree with the position of the Community Culture and Belonging team, and that was what the process was going to be, I might have thought about doing this in a different way. I'm just really concerned about putting our teachers and principals in a compromising position with parents. And so I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that concern, and I appreciate all the thoughtfulness that's gone into it. And I'm very open to hearing further discussion, and maybe I'll change my mind, but for now, I still am of the mindset that those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations, are important to have when they need to happen. I think that's part of how we grow as a community, and we normalize dialogue. We normalize compromise rather than avoiding uncomfortable topics. So I think it's an organizational capacity that's important to have, and I think it's an important capacity and relationship to continue to develop with our community. The fact that we can talk about things that are uncomfortable. That's the world I want my kids to grow up in, being, having role models who have those conversations. And I absolutely appreciate your desire to protect the principals and the staff members who have to make these difficult decisions and have these uncomfortable conversations. But I think those are exactly the learning experiences that will serve our students best.
It's also the volume of what would need to be reviewed. That's
Sure.
also something to think about.
And that's why I was proposing the carve out of K-2, or maybe it's K-1, which would be, I know at 160 books a year. I know that's a lot, but
It is a lot. And then think about the conversations that would need to take place and the time that would take if there was an alignment in what was appropriate for students, and then where those conversations would go. And if there was an agreement. Like, there's a lot to this, which is why I think that the Community Culture and Belonging team established this recommendation and procedure for us. And now that we've memorialized it in a policy, I now see why that happened. And so I want to just think about this a little bit more, because the people who are implementing and supporting families in classrooms have, we've spent a lot of time talking about how to do this in a way that where everyone felt good.
Can you then also give us, for a future meeting, some information then and some data about, how many books, how many examples per year of proposed outside content has led to, after being evaluated, has not been approved and has led to these sorts of conversations, so we can have an idea of the scope and the magnitude of that issue.
I think what I'll do is I'll invite the principals to the next policy committee meeting, the
Okay.
elementary ones.
Thank you.
That's how we'll do it.
Okay.
If that's okay with everybody.
Yes,
Sounds
and I
good.
just want to clarify and just say that we really value all the feedback that we get from our community members, obviously. And when we ask specifically for a read-through of certain policies that we want to put in place. But we, I don't want to say we extra value the CCB because they have experience in working in the district and navigating through the challenges. And I agree with you, Tim, in terms of having tough conversations when it's awkward and when it's uncomfortable and it's hard. It's just hard. It's just plain hard. And understanding all that, I think but being able to balance also the logistics around how this would happen, right? Because if we're thinking about, because I'm rereading the policy that we wrote, all materials shown or distributed to students must be aligned with curriculum objectives, be appropriate to the age and developmental level of students, and must be based on accurate and credible information. That seems totally logical to me. This is a public school. This sounds good. All materials distributed to or viewed by students, including handouts, digital resources, presentations, and externally sourced content, must be submitted to the building principal in advance and approved prior to use. All guest parent caretaker readers must select books from district school libraries. Guest instructional specialists who wish to use books not available through these resources must obtain prior approval from the building principal. Now that I'm rereading it, maybe it's about, okay, so then I have a child that, I'm being invited. First of all, this is approved guest speakers invited. So I have to first be invited. So I might not be invited. And right, okay. So, but I think what Tim was talking about, we're talking about parents being invited to the classroom. So and then my child picks out a book and we're thinking, okay, maybe this is in the library, maybe it's not, we don't know. We say, okay, we want to read this book, and we find out that this book is not in the library, then what do we do?
A parent?
Mm-hmm.
They have to pick from the library.
Okay.
So that conversation wouldn't happen because they are working with the library media specialist to select a book. So this other piece of this instructional these are people coming in with content knowledge, educating, and so
it'd be specific to that.
Like they're not
whatever they're presenting.
Parents coming in to read a book,
right?
They are coming in for like a content area special moment to enhance instruction.
Okay.
It's just the volume of what would need to be reviewed.
So that
would be incredible.
So then, even with the parent guests that are invited to come in, it will be two different categories in terms of, one is more like, okay, we're inviting all the parents to come in on their child's birthday to read a book. And then there's the parents that come in to the building because they're doing a presentation on, what is that thing called? The professional
or AI or something.
Day, right?
Yes.
Career day.
Career day, yes, thank you. Career day, and so they're going to bring in materials that speak to their specific career, and that will be then vetted by the principal. Yeah, so it's tough. It's tough because what if it's a really wonderful book and it's just not in our libraries, and maybe we do want to add it? And so
here's the other thing you don't want to have happen. If people feel like they can't handle this, they won't invite parents in. So that could be an outcome here that no one wants. And
well, we
so
don't
I
want
think
that.
everyone's trying to be
I think we're avoiding what you think is a wonderful book might not be a wonderful book to everyone. So
Right.
if it's in our libraries,
Right.
use it, and if not, then
Right.
you can present it to us, but we'll make
Right.
that determination after the fact.
Yes.
But what I'm
But
also
to
trying
clarify,
to,
though, the policy, you're not allowed to present the book to ask for it to be included.
Fine.
Yeah.
I think, yes. I think the policy as written, while I hear your point, I think it avoids a lot of, and I understand we want teachers to model behaviors that we want our kids to have critical thinking and being able to think outside the box and quick on your feet and making determinations that aren't always inside of a policy is important. But we also need to protect the people in our buildings, and it has happened too often here in this example that we are using for this policy that the lines get blurred, and unfortunately, I think a policy is necessary to be in place so we can discuss at the next meeting, but I don't see how we get around, I don't see how we kick it back to the building principals to make those determinations.
I also want to share, sorry, on the community culture and belonging team, there are parents.
That's right.
So it's not like, I forgot to mention that, and I'm sorry, but this is coming
There's
from a
plenty of
collective.
community members there.
Well,
So-
and listen, there's 5 parents up here who have been elected to represent other parents as well. And so I think, listen, it's hard, and I agree with, being able to have those hard conversations and push where you feel like this is right, I'm going to stand by what I believe is principled. I'm a big advocate for that. But at the same time, you were talking about also, this is something we could talk about in the policy committee as well, but like carving it out for our youngest learners, K1, I think that's actually even harder to do, because while we can all have these private conversations and learning moments and teachable moments at home, I'm not sure if the K1 student that's picking out the book is, and then it's not in the library, like we can't possibly get into a conversation with the child on why this may not be appropriate or why it doesn't exist in our school library. I think that it's just really tough, but it doesn't take away. I want to be able to separate that, the management of that, and trying to protect all of our students and making sure that it's consistent across the district, like I said, with other things, is not really to prevent anyone from having those tough conversations or prevent anyone from sharing of something that is part of their identity and who you are. In fact, I think we're trying to preserve that. And I think I'm not part of the CCB, but I know we have 2 board members who are liaisons to that, and I would think that that's what they are trying to convey. Yes?
Yeah, it's really hard because on one hand, I totally understand what Tim is saying. I want
Yeah.
kids to be able to bring in their favorite book and
Yeah.
have their parent read it. It seems very simple,
Yeah.
but it's extremely complicated in our school district. And so I don't really, I like to anchor in the community culture and belonging team because it's all of us making decisions together for what we think is in the best interest of our children. But I'll invite the principals to the next policy committee meeting. We could talk a little bit more about it since they're in the seats.
Yeah.
So no problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along to item number 4, recommended action, personnel.
I recommend 4.1 instructional as presented.
I will move 4.1 as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I recommend 4.2 non-instructional as presented.
I will move 4.2 as presented.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to 5, recommended action. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate that item, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools. So we have items 5.1 through 5.26. First, is there anybody that wants to remove anything for separate voting? Okay, no. So I will move 5.1 through 5.26. They are, we talked about it in the superintendent's report. We have some services, music therapy, Soul Source, that Dr. Pease talked about. We have the pre-K play care RFP award. We have some change orders. We have the National Purchasing Cooperative that Mr. Colwell-Block talked about. We have some other RFP bid awards, and the usual, and the budget transfers. This happens at the end of the year, more so than ever. And then we have the button hook amendment. Anything else that we want to highlight? Okay, so I moved that. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, thoughts, comments? All in favor?
Yeah, I'd just like to add a comment on 5.15 for the play care RFP. I'd just like to thank our administrators for doing the work to validate that they were in compliance with the state requirements, with the ADA requirements, to allow us to, consider and hopefully accept this RFP. Not only does it give more seats to children in our district, it also offers an opportunity for some families who may feel that the best thing for their child is something different than the in-district pre-K. I love that we're able to still give families choice. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving along, there's nothing under 6. 7, facilities. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby acknowledges receipt of change orders approved by the superintendent per board resolution adopted at the June 14, 2017 Board of Education meeting. So we have 7.1.
It's a credit.
And it is a credit. We are getting money back.
Love the credits.
Thank you. I'm going to say this every time. I'm looking for the box top awards to come up, Dr. Pease. If there's any more of that, we will take it. I will move 7.1.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 8, financials. 8.1, I will move 8.1, acknowledging receipt of the claims auditor's report of May 2026. May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8.2, may I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the treasurer's report for May 2026?
I'll second.
Gotta
No,
move
may
it.
I have
I'll
a
move it.
movement?
I'll move it.
Okay.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to move 8.3, acknowledging receipt of the appropriation status report for May 2026?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved, 8.4, that the Board of Education hereby acknowledges receipt of the revenue status report for May 2026.
I'll move that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, can I say something?
Yes.
Before we go into exec session? I just want to thank President Wong for your leadership this year. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And all of our Board of Education members for the time and support you've given our school district and me throughout the year.
I don't see any gift bags.
No,
What goes on
There's a
there?
lot.
You're
Extra
appreciated.
from
It's
the 7th grade.
ongoing. I think we've been able to do a lot of work as a faculty and staff, and it's only because of your support. So thank you. You're appreciated by all of us, and especially by me. Matthew, thank you. Best wishes. This is it.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of our team this year. And Lisa, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we'll miss you. Our next agenda will be on board docs, so we look forward to sharing that with the community. And After the notice of future meeting, we'll go back into
Yes,
effect, right?
and I just want to, I know some of our members are wearing gear to say congratulations and thank you to the Knicks. We've waited 53 years for this. We've been loyal and we are here.
None of us are 53, to be fair.
Almost 53. So we want to say thank you to the Knicks and whoever can. It's too bad that
Are they watching?
some of you never know. I know some of the kids have been saying that they would like their moving up ceremony changed, and people are saying that they're not going to go and take their exams. Not here, of course, not at CCSD. But this is an exciting time. But we need to finish strong and stay focused, everybody. So it's not over yet. Our meeting is going to be over, but it's not over yet. So I wanted to just put that on. We are going to move back into executive session at 9:12 p.m. If I can have a motion to move us back at 9:12.
Oh, you don't have to, because I'm going to tape you. But we don't even plan on taking any
gonna
action.
change my
No,
shirt.
we're not
okay?
taking, yeah.
I'll move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second? Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we will be going into exec. So we are back. The board has been in executive session for the second time since 9:12 p.m. Can I have a motion to move us back into the public meeting at 10:30 p.m.? I move. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, great. We are back in the public meeting. Can I have a motion, notice of future meetings, Monday, July 6th, it's the reorg meeting, and then Thursday, July 30th, we're going over to the new year. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:30 p.m.?
I move.
May I have a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.